Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our today's office hour on California's BEAD Subgrantee selection process. My name is Ali Eshraghi, and I serve as a program and project supervisor for the BEAD program here at California Public Utilities Commission (CPUC). I'm joined today by my colleagues from CPUC, CTC Technology and Energy, as well as Ready.net. And my colleague will introduce themselves as we go through your questions and when they speak for the first time. Let's go to the next slide. Here's the agenda for today's session. We are starting with a brief welcome and some housekeeping notes. And then we'll then move on to the main segment where we'll address your questions and provide answers. And if we cannot answer some of your questions comprehensively during this session, we'll include them in our FAQ document, or we follow up with you offline. More on that once we get to the next step. And reminders, which basically will wrap up this session by outlining next step and sharing some important reminders. In terms of housekeeping, to ask a question, please write your question in the chat, and we go through the question one by one. If we need you to clarify elements of a question, we'll ask you to speak, and we'll unmute yourself and speak. When you are called upon to clarify any parts of your question, please provide the clarification in the chat afterward. This helps us accurately capture your input for inclusion in the FAQ document. We'll start with the first round of questions, giving everyone a chance to ask one question. Please avoid multi-part questions during this round after the initial round, and if time allows, we open the floor for additional questions. If you would like to follow up on someone else's question, please write it in the chat, and we'll go through those as well as we go through the questions. In terms of the scope of this session is focused on questions about the subgrantee selection process, specifically the about the project pre-qualification application and project application. As I mentioned earlier, there will be questions that we might not be able to provide answer during this session. We will take those questions back, review them, and include the responses in our FAQ document. Considering that we are basically in the application window process, if there are urgent questions, you can also follow up with us offline using our mailbox, beadgrant@cpuc.ca.gov. So if you have questions more general about BEAD, please send those to bead@cpuc.ca.gov. As a reminder, the CPUC is required to follow the rules established by the NTIA, which administers the BEAD program. And as I mentioned, the questions and answers from today's session will be included in our next FAQ document. The FAQ document for this week is going to be published today. And we will announce that using our service list as well. But please check our website for the new version of FAQ document by COB today. Thank you for joining us. We can move on to the question part, and please enter your questions in the chat. Just two quick announcements before we go through your question. One, as you likely saw, CPUC announced a 1-week extension of the BEAD program's pre-qualification and project application windows. So based on this 1-week extension, the pre-qualification application now will be closed on May 1st, and the project application window will be closed on May 9th. The other announcement that we would like to cover is the format change for the upcoming office hour next week. This session now will be a live interactive webinar. We feature a discussion of selected questions from the CPUC BEAD FAQ document, and we will have a Q&A segment afterwards. We want to make sure that we have a live an interactive discussion on the important question from the FAQ document. And this will be for the next week's session, which is on May 1st, 1 to 2 p.m. With that, let's go through your questions. I see a few pops up. The one is portal issue. We ran into a system limitation while testing data uploads in the CPUC portal. We tried to upload a continuous FW project with 1,065 PAUs and around 26,000 BSLs. While the project passed the contiguity and high need threshold, the system wouldn't allow us to proceed to the export step. It looks like there may be upload limits tied to file size or number of records. Can CPUC confirm whether this is a known issue, and is there a workaround or guidance for uploading larger projects like this? So there is an email that you can reach out for the technical issues. Finn, do you want to basically provide a brief guidance on how they should reach out to with these technical issues?
Yes, hi, this is Finn with ready.net. If you could send that to the help desk email and give a little bit more clarity on the specifics on where you were uploading this and what was happening, what happened afterwards, then I can go in and look into more detail. I see that Joe has just provided the help desk email in response to your chat message. It is cahelpdesk@ready.net. So yeah, if you could send an email with as much detail as you can on that issue, we will get right on that.
Thank you, Finn. Moving on to the next question. If we have found it difficult to determine the size of workforce and specific wage scales for each class of employee for the pre-qualification application, given the project scope is still being developed, and we are planning a formal bidding process to secure construction contractors, would you be able to provide additional insight to the level of detail CPUC is expecting for questions pertaining to the size of workforce and wage scales? Ziggy?
Sure. Yeah, this is a very reasonable question, and we understand that you can't provide detail that is accurate. So do your best effort to estimate, and you can do it also based if you have some kind of metric that you have a very rough metric of what you expect depending on the project, but the final project. But some kind of estimate is what we're looking for here, that it's reasonable. We understand that in the actual application, you will, of course, have to have a much better sense, but certainly in the pre-qualification, you won't know yet a lot of stuff. So.
Thank you, Ziggy. So moving on to the next question, how would an application proposing only reliable broadband technologies with a partial match waiver request be reviewed against a 100% LU application with a 25% plus match? Ziggy?
So NTA does require that if there are other reliable broadband technology projects that can be assigned in the same area that does not request a waiver, that they be so, as long as they're within budget and fulfill all the other requirements. But there's no such requirement in regard to alternative technologies. In fact, any time the State Broadband Office can assign a reliable broadband project, they should do so according to NTIA requirements. So it's highly likely that if feasible, a partial match waiver project, absent any other reliable broadband project, would be assigned before alternative technology project, as long as it's within budget.
Thank you. So moving on to the next question. After the pre-qualification application is submitted, can more information be added, uploaded? So one aspect of that, when we review your applications, there might be elements that we ask you to revise or add information. So that's one thing that the portal will be reopened for you. But I think this question is referring that if you want, without like us asking you, and I would ask Joe and Finn in terms of the portal capability if they want to modify any elements of their submitted application. To my understanding, no, but wanted to confirm.
Yeah, once you hit that submit button, you can't go back in and make changes unless you get a revision request or later down the line negotiation request.
Thanks, Joe. The next question is regarding question 5.3b. We have received feedback from professional engineers that it is unusual for them to review documentation at the level requested, and they are hesitant to stamp any document, even one that looks compliant and well made, before final low-level design is approved. Can you elaborate on why this requirement is included so we can bring back to them?
Absolutely.
So, go ahead, Z.
So the short answer is it's an NTA requirement, and it is included as NTA required in IPv2. That's the short answer. The longer answer is that what we're trying to assess is whether your design and capabilities are adequately reflected and so if you have a cost proposal that is and method of construction that is completely out of touch with your claims for speed and scalability, obviously something is wrong. So this is what a PE certification is, that we're not looking for a certification of a low-level design. We're looking for, does the PE stand behind the claims, general claims that are being made for what this network can accomplish with the cost proposal that you're providing forward.
Thank you, Ziggy. Moving on to the next question. In the pre-qualification application, I don't fully understand the ownership form. In particular, Table 1, Section 1 asks for parties in interest in the applicant, including the identity and relationship of those persons or entities directly or indirectly owning or controlling the applicant. Does this require every shareholder of the corporation's stock to be listed, not matter how small their ownership may be? If not, what exactly is it asking for? Joe, do you have any?
This is speaking. Yeah, this is relevant to I believe 4.6 and the template. On the first page, I know it's a check on that first page, but it should be only like 10% ownership, 10% or more stock ownership, something like that. So there are limitations. It's not, every single person. See, anything to add there?
No, I don't have any. I'm not an expert in this area. I know the intent here is to capture major interests and just to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest involved between different applicants in the process. So yeah, we're looking for major ownerships, anything above 10%. We're not looking for each and every single shareholder, and that includes co-ops, where all the members are shareholders.
Thank you. So moving on to the next question, we were awarded a FFA grant for Augustine. The BSLs are showing up as having a pending federal award. What do we need to do, if anything, to address this? Ziggy, any thought on this based on the questions?
I believe we have, and Jonathan may be able to weigh in as well, but I believe we have a frequently asked question that discusses fundable versus eligible broadband serviceable locations. So just to elaborate, the short answer to this is you'll be listing them as non-fundable, essentially, they're not fundable, so you don't have to think about them in terms of your cost estimates, etc.
Right, and sorry, just to slow off the mute, but thank you for that clarification. That is the short answer. The slightly longer answer is that by showing on the map those locations as indicated, we are providing notice both to potential applicants and also to the NTIA that there are or will be awards in those areas that were not able to be captured in the data that we had to provide to NTIA at the beginning of this calendar year in January to complete out our challenge process. So the FFA program has continued to make awards in January, February, March, and maybe even in April, I'm not sure, but has made awards in those 3 months that because of the deadlines NTIA established for the challenge process and the method, we're not able to reflect those as served locations or served as a result of an enforceable commitment. So instead, they're shown as indicated locations. That's all that I have to add. And sorry, my name is Jonathan Lackwitz, and I'm a manager for the communications division helping with the BEAD program.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Ziggy. So a follow-up question to that, they're asking if they need to make application, and if so, this wouldn't need a P certification, correct? See, is this?
I don't understand the question.
So that they're asking about this the FFA grant that we asked the asked question earlier. They're saying, are you saying we make application? And if so, this wouldn't need a P certification, correct? So that's the question.
So I think, Ziggy, in your last answer, you indicated that they should include in their application those locations and say that they're not eligible for funding. So the answer to the question is they would need to submit an application. And then their question is, do they need to include the PE certification as part of their application? So do they need to include, if someone marks a non-fundable location, are they required to complete the rest of the elements of the application associated with that location?
The certification is to the network design that's being proposed. So if the network design does not include those locations, then the P certification doesn't apply to them. I don't know if that answers the question. I hope it does. But if I haven't answered the question, by all means, please either post it here or send us an email, and we'll do our best to answer it. And by the way, my name is Ziggy Rifkinfish, VP for Broadband Strategy, and I'm supporting this project.
Thank you, Ziggy.
Ali, there's a question about when will the recording of this session be available?
I'm confirmed with our team. Yes,
sure.
As soon as possible, I'll announce it here. So I'm going through the next question. The next question: there are locations, the BEAD application, CSV downloaded that are not included in Comcast Fabric version 6. That suggests that those locations are ineligible as well. Do we simply note these locations as such? Ziggy?
This is not my area. So if we haven't answered this, I know we've answered a lot of questions on Fabric versions, etc. In our frequently asked questions. If we haven't answered it yet, we'll provide an answer.
Yes. So we'll take this offline and provide an answer in our FAQ document. If this is urgent for your project, please also email it to us, and we get back to you directly much sooner compared to the next week release of the next version of the FAQ document. So the next question is very long, focusing on the project application. Can you provide insight on what an application should do to meet the application requirements to serve 100% of BSLs in their PAUs if they are proposing a hybrid fiber plus licensed fixed wireless solution for their project application, but cannot serve 100% of the BSLs in their project area with any reliable broadband technology due to geographic barriers? And they believe LEO may be the only technology that could potentially serve the small number of remaining BSLs that the applicant can't serve with fiber or licensed fixed wireless. And the applicant themselves is not a LEO provider, nor has the means to become a LEO provider. And existing LEO providers like Starlink are unwilling to partner on an application. And the application cannot certify the performance standards of a third-party LEO provider who is unwilling to sign a service agreement with the applicant. So I think I'll defer to my colleague, but I think the one that you're describing is basically is not a 100%, then goes to the 90% project proposal, but I pass it to Z for more details.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. And I've seen this question this very morning and provided a draft answer, so you'll see something in our frequently asked questions exactly on this. I would just remind you that a hybrid fiber and licensed fixed wireless project will be treated as a reliable broadband project and not as a priority, meaning end-to-end fiber project. And there's, of course, nothing wrong with that. And as Ali said, this is why we have the 90% option, because we recognize that there may be reasons why 100% application might not be as strong as a 90% in some cases and for some providers.
Thank
Could I
you.
ask a quick follow-up? Because that didn't really address my question. Thank you so much. So it's my understanding that we have to submit the 100% served design, though. And I guess my concern is that we can't include, like if we included LEO as an option, we can't provide the LEO service, but we would still have to, like in the certifications for the application, certify that the LEO we're proposing would meet the performance standards, which we can't do. And yes, ideally, we would love for you to pick the 90% proposal, right? Like in an ideal world, that's what we would be submitting. But it's my understanding that because we have to submit the 100% and there's no feasible way that wireless or fiber could serve all those locations, unless you want to go like 2 million per passing for fiber, maybe. But even designing it, right, like is a huge burden for the engineering team, right, to even try to figure out how to get to some locations.
Completely understood. And I can't advise you what you should do in this case. If I was an engineer and I had to design a project with 100% fiber, I would do so and provide the cost that it would be, and then focus on the 90% if that was where I thought that could come up with a more competitive proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to the next question. Question 3.3 AI includes an option to check a box to apply for an automatic waiver of a minimum high need area. Outside of the portal, checking the contiguous map areas. What else does an applicant need to do to apply for this waiver? Are there any forms? Joe?
Yeah, good question. And no extra forms. That checkbox only appears in very specific scenarios. For example, if you have like tribal lands in your project area, and when you have like tribal lands in the project area, you do not need to meet that threshold. So it's really just a certificate or a checkbox certification for you to say, I'm continuing on, but no extra work required.
Thank you. So going back to the question in terms of posting this office hour, so this office hour will be posted to our website. We are aiming to post it by tomorrow, if not no later than Monday. But we're trying to have it up on our website by COB tomorrow. And again, the FAQ, the questions, basically what we are discussing here in terms of the question and answers, will also be included in our FAQ document next week. So moving on to the next question. Are there defined costs for connecting to middle mile that can be used for financial models in the applications? Ziggy or Joe, do you have any?
The short answer is no. Hopefully you have the expertise, or you have contracted with the expertise to estimate these kind of costs.
So the next one is about, again, going back to the FFA question. So if you can submit your question, your detailed question, if it's very specific to your situation, to our mailbox, we can get back to you using that venue.
Ellie, why don't we go ahead and hear what Mitzi's concerns are, and whether we'll be able to address them real time or not, I don't know, but at least we can make sure we understand the question.
So go ahead, Mitzi.
Thank you so much. Since we have the FFA, we understand the deconflicting maps were submitted. I get that. But what I don't really understand is what exactly we need to do. We were under the understanding that we would submit the application with the same PSLs that we were awarded. And, going through the entire application, there are things that don't necessarily make sense. And that getting the PE certification for that, since that's already an approved project. So I think that's the question. I'm just trying to make sure we're not, I'm not missing instructions on what we're supposed to do in this situation. And I haven't been able, I'm trying to listen in on the call, so I haven't necessarily found it on the FAQ yet.
So as a follow-up question, is the application that's being submitted by your entity strictly for those locations that are marked as indicated?
100%.
Okay.
Same.
I think if Jonathan, if you don't mind, I'll provide a in-depth answer in a FAQ. I think that's better to do than here.
Or we can, Mitzi, if you could please send that question into our box, we can then directly respond back to you. So you don't have to wait for the FAQ. But I think we now understand your question.
I get it. I totally get it. My deadline is today to be able to, if we need that, that just can't appear immediately. So that's my concern, that you'll come back and say this is required, and we will not have the window to do that. So that's just why, I'm saying we're just trying to make sure
And you are aware that the project application deadline has been pushed to 11:59 p.m. on May 9th.
Right,
Okay.
I am, but these are long lead times for some folks.
Yep.
And this is a long lead time item, and I run out of time at the close of business today. So I will
Okay.
send, is it to the BEAD address, or is there someone else to send it to?
We'll
It's
put it in
BEAD
the chat.
grant at CPUC, yes, and my colleague can put it on the chat. BEAD grant at
Oh,
CPUC.
I know that. I don't know if it would specifically go to Ziggy or what, but I've said plenty.
There
So
are two mailboxes, BEAD at CPUC and BEAD grant at CPUC. If you send it to BEAD grant, would be like faster process for us.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, let's see if there are any new questions. Do we need to sign, notarize, upload a new copy of the CPUC application, notarize affidavit for non-telephone corporations corporation in the new application if we already submitted one for pre-qualification, or can we use the same form? Ziggy or Joe, I mean, in terms of they're the same form, right?
I believe the title on one of them is slightly different, but otherwise, I believe it's the same.
But this isn't that like different like certification that needs to be happen separately?
The questions, the certification, of course, in the project application at the end, those are different, but the attachment at the very end, they're almost identical, except for a small title change. If so, I can't recommend since they're slightly different, but I think
yeah, we need to check this like internally. Let's get back to you. We'll get back in the FAQ document.
yeah.
Yes, just to make sure that in terms of process wise, we are tracking the rules. Thanks, Joe. Annie, please go ahead. We don't have any more questions at this time, so we can cover your questions. Thanks. Go ahead with your questions. So there are three questions. I go through them one by one. So is it possible to transfer the LOC bond requirement to another entity post-award? For example, if a city engages a contractor who would typically be responsible for the bond for the project, can that requirement be shifted later on? Ziggy or Joe?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next one, question 7.2b, is the bankruptcy review required for the LOC pre-award? Unusual requirement in other states, this wasn't needed until post-award. So is Zig or Joe, do you have an answer for this, or?
I do not, so I guess we'll do that in a backend.
Yeah, we'll get back to you regarding this one. The next part of your question regarding the LOC bond commitment, is there any flexibility permitting an entity with significant liquid assets to bypass this requirement? Ziggy?
The requirements are for a letter of credit and or performance bond are as they appear in IPv2. There is, I believe, an an alternative option for municipalities if they can show that they cannot legally or by some rules get a letter of credit of performance bond, and the legal counsel can attest to that. But other than that, as the rules are now, that's a required thing.
Thank you, Z. Thank you, Annie. So give it another minute to see if there are any other questions. If not, we wrap up this session. So the next question is, will the application portal map automatically provide the 90% proposed map, or will it capture the one we suggest based on the 90% locations list we upload? Joe?
Good question. The map on select locations will not change depending on the 90%. So it's only the 100% application that's represented on that map. The 90% location list will still be used and downloaded, by the CPUC team and verified, but it's visually not going to make any changes. Good question.
Thank you.
And Ali, since it's a time-sensitive question, I'm ready to answer the question regarding the project with no fundable locations, and the answer is you don't need a PE's certification. So what you should be doing in those cases is to simply upload a PDF that explains that this is non-applicable because there's no network to build out. So, and that if there are any other required uploads similar to this, you can upload a page that says not applicable and explain why.
And I see Mitzi on the call, so hopefully she shared that response. Okay, so the next question is, for the 2-year timeline, does the clock start once permits are received? Z or Jonathan, do you have any insight into this?
Okay, got it. So this is for the question regarding how quickly are you able to build out? So this is and it's applicable to deployment scoring. I'll get back to you on this. This is an important question, and I want to make sure that it's captured exactly right in the frequently asked questions.
Thank you, Ziggy. Okay, I think with that we can wrap up. If you can have the slides up. So if you haven't already, please sign up on our website to receive updates about the BEAD program. As I mentioned, for the questions about California's BEAD subgrantee selection process, email them to beadgrant@cpuc.ca.gov. It's on this slide. My colleague Todd type that in the chat as well. For other inquiries about the BEAD program in California, please use the other mailbox that we have, bead@cpuc.ca.gov. As I mentioned earlier, we are developing the FAQ document. We are developing the updated FAQ document. The new version will be posted today, and the questions from today's session will be included in the version that we post next week. The recording of this session also will be posted on our website. We are aiming by tomorrow, but no later than Monday. We are continuing with these office hours in the next few weeks during the application window. The next week, as I mentioned, would be an interactive office hour where we go through some of the important questions from the FAQ document, and we'll have opportunity for Q&A, follow-up questions, and at the end for other questions that you have. So this is an opportunity for stakeholders to ask specific questions, seek clarification, and receive guidance on the BEAD application process. Stakeholders are encouraged to attend these sessions to fully understand the requirements and opportunities provided through the BEAD program. These events are designed to promote transparency, collaboration, and success for all potential subgrantees. Thank you for your participation and engagement today. Thanks to all of our panelists today. Have a great afternoon.